All right, here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. Chase Sr. here with you. And as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. And there's a lot to get into here. First, Philadelphia released their depth chart prior to their preseason opener against the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday night. We'll be doing a watch party for that game. I hope to see all of the real ones there. And also, at the end of the show, I'm going to explain why the Eagles and Howie Roseman should not trade for Micah Parsons as that drama in Dallas continues, and you absolutely love to see some dysfunction with the Dallas Cowboys. Before we talk about all of that, be sure to lock us in and hit that subscribe button for Elite Eagles coverage, which comes your way every single day, year-round, right here on the program. So far, as we flip the page to the month of August, we have gained 133 new subscribers. In July, 1,303 people hit that subscribe button, which beat our number of June, and that was 1,200 subscribers. Join the movement, hit that subscribe button, and if you're a diehard Eagles fan, I promise you, you won't regret that decision by hitting that subscribe button here today. All right, so the Eagles releasing their depth chart going into their preseason opener on Thursday night against the Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to go through pretty much the entire 90-man roster that Howie Roseman has put together, and there are some surprises that we want to highlight. Let's begin at the quarterback position. No surprises, right? Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion Jalen Hurts is, of course, QB1. Behind him, one of the best backup quarterbacks in the NFL, in my opinion, Tanner McKee. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is the third stringer. Over the last few practices, he has been shining at the Novacare complex in South Philadelphia, and he's been able to distance himself from the sixth-round pick rookie in Kyle McCord, who grew up in South Jersey, went to St. Joe's Prep, won some state titles there playing at the high school level, and I thought that he was so much better at Syracuse with lesser talent than at Ohio State. He got some confidence going, and I thought going into camp, he could win that QB3 battle. But I also said DTR has a really good skill set. I really liked him as a prospect coming out of UCLA when he played, fittingly enough, under Chip Kelly. More of a dual threat guy. McCord, more of that pocket passer who can hang tough, has good pocket feel and pocket movement, probably a better pure passer than Dorian Thompson-Robinson, but DTR has the experience edge on McCord, and the last few practices, he has been really good. And so as we look ahead to the preseason, I don't think that Hurts is going to play at all. He didn't last preseason. I don't think that Tanner McKee needs to play much because the Eagles really like him, and he's borderline untouchable as far as trades, and the Eagles just really like him as a backup quarterback. And you look at this Eagles franchise history, right? They have had to utilize QB2 to win a lot of big games since I've been watching this team, since the late 90s. And so I think DTR and Kyle McCord are going to get a lot of live game reps. And I'm excited, frankly, to watch both of them duke it out to see who can lock down that third-string quarterback role. At the running back position, it is Will Shipley who is behind Saquon Barkley. But A.J. Dillon has been the running back who's gotten some more carries and opportunities with that first-team offense. And we know that Saquon is going to be utilized a lot in 2025. And if training camp has shown us anything, Eagles aren't really going to manage his workload. He has been utilized a ton to start off training camp the first few weeks. But who will be that RB2? Shipley is very dynamic. He's very explosive. He has more pass-catching ability than A.J. Dillon, but Dillon gives you that thumper at the running back spot who checks in at 240, 250 pounds, and he can certainly churn and pick up yards after contact. Either way, I do like the Eagles' running back situation, especially now that we know that A.J. Dillon has no ill effects from that neck injury, which cost him the 2024 season. After those top three, couple of UDFAs here. Montrell Johnson, Shunderick Powell, and then Keelan Robinson, formerly of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was a player in college who played for Alabama and Texas. Has a lot of return ability. I want to see if he gets opportunities there throughout the preseason, but I'm really intrigued by all of those guys, Johnson, Robinson, and Powell. I do think the Eagles are going to have Ben Van Sumeren on the 53-man roster as their fullback, and so he's kind of a de facto running back if you just want to break it down into roster specifics and the 53. But Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie said as much this offseason. We believe we can resurrect the fullback position, that there's a lot of value there. Van Sumeren, prior to that season-ending knee injury last year, was being utilized as a fullback and lead blocker for Saquon Barkley under Kellen Moore. And so I think the Eagles look at him as a weapon on this team who can play fullback, but because of his linebacker background, because he's a really good athlete, you can use him on special teams as well. First team offense for the wide receiver position. No surprises here. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith leading it. One of the best, if not the best, wide receiver duos in the National Football League. And then Jahan Dotson as wide receiver 3. He's enjoyed a pretty good spring and training camp as he's just more acclimated with this offense compared to last year when he got traded for right before the start of the season. And then the second team wide receiver spots. Johnny Wilson, Anaya Smith out of the slot, and Terrace Marshall. Johnny Wilson better pick it up, otherwise he's going to get beat out on the 53. Wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, and if the Eagles hold on to 6 wide receivers, wide receiver 6, I think are currently up for grabs. Elijah Cooks is a player who seemingly every single practice, he's making some type of highlight reel-worthy grab, and right now, I would take him over Smith and Wilson, even though the Eagles drafted those 2 young players a year ago. I want to put together the best team. Avery Williams has return ability, hasn't done much as far as offensive snaps go. Preseason going to be big for him. Giles Jackson caught a 50-plus yard touchdown today from Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He's a blazer, 4.3, 4.4 speed. Darius Cooper is a UDFA out of Tarleton State. I think he's a prime candidate as a developmental player for this Eagles practice squad. He leads that third-string offense. Taylor Marin, Ife Adai, who has 4.3 speed as well, rounding out that third-string receiver group. At tight end, Eagles have a bunch of players here. Dallas Goedert is the number 1, followed by Grant Calcaterra. Then it's Kylan Granson and Harrison Bryant. And then E.J. Jenkins, Nick Muse, Cam Latu. That is 7 total tight ends on the 90-man roster for the Eagles. Goedert and Calcaterra are the shoo-ins. Of note, last year, going into the season opener, the Eagles had 2 tight ends on the 53 because they're so deep at several other positions. Wouldn't surprise me if they go with 2 tight ends on the 53 here in 2025 in a couple of weeks, and then they try to get away with either a tight end or 2 on the practice squad. Granson is smaller, but a good blocker. Bryant, taller, and a really good red zone threat. Along the offensive line, your starters from left tackle to right tackle. Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, and Lane Johnson. Tyler Steen, it has been his job to lose going all the way back to the spring. He's gotten progressively better as training camp has progressed. That's a good sign because the Eagles did lose Mekhi Becton, the big ticket, now with the Los Angeles Chargers. That right there, probably the best offensive line in football, even though Steen is an unknown. The second stringers, Kendall Lamb at left tackle. Kenyon Green is going to stay at left guard, not in the competition for right guard. Brett Toth at backup center. That could change between him and Drew Kendall, the rookie 6th-round pick. We'll see. Kendall's been going back and forth with Toth with that second string. Matt Pryor, the backup right guard, and then Darian Kennardi has been with this team the last couple of years. He's the backup right tackle behind Lane Johnson. Then you have a lot of youth with the third-string offensive line. Miles Hinton, 6th-round pick. Jeff Stoutland really likes him. Eagles currently don't have a third-string left guard. Drew Kendall, the third-string center, but I think he's going to make the 53 because he can play the center and guard spots. Trevor Keegan, a draft pick from last year out of Michigan. He's made the switch to right guard, but he can play left guard as well. And then Cam Williams, another 6th-round pick, as Howie Roseman took 3 6th-round offensive linemen. He's a really intriguing player who can play guard and tackle, I believe, at the next level. I think if he would have returned to Texas and played well, could have been a first-round pick in 2026, but right now, kind of buried on that depth chart. Some of these players I'm very excited to watch during preseason. Other offensive linemen on the depth chart. Holland Pierce is a UDFA out of Rutgers. He got better every year that he was playing with the Scarlet Knights. He's at left tackle. And then Laken Vakalahi, in the spring, he was playing some guard. In training camp, he's been playing some tackle. Jason Kelsey was working with him. This is notable here. He's a part of the International Pathway Program that does not count toward the 53-man roster. All teams across the NFL are allowed to have one International Pathway player because the NFL is trying to expand their roots worldwide. And so Vakalahi can make this team and not count toward the 53, another developmental piece for the best offensive line coach in the NFL in Jeff Stoutland. A programming reminder before we shift to the defensive side of the ball. Under Vic Fangio on Thursday night, myself and producer Chip, we're back for another watch party. Live play-by-play, audience interaction, pregame show, postgame show. We're going to break it all down. Kickoff is set for 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. We're either going to do a 30-minute pregame show or an hour pregame show. We're going to leave that up to the audience. So far, a lot of people have been saying to go live an hour prior. We'll, of course, have some Super Chat giveaways as well for our Super Chat MVPs. Also want to tell you about this great deal. Thanks to our friends at Fanatics. Limited time only. This Eagles cutoff hoodie is on sale. You can wear this any time of the year, look good, feel good, while supporting the defending Super Bowl champions. And this hoodie was $55. It's now on sale for just $33. Here's the kicker. You got to use our link. chatsports.com/Eagles cutoff. You use that link, it'll take you to Fanatics. Fanatics will know that Chase Senior, Eagles Now, on Chat Sports sent you, and that deal will apply $22 off. All right, a lot to talk about here on the defensive side of the pill for the Birds. Edge rushers, Nolan Smith and Jalyx Hunt are the starters. There's been a very good competition for who is edge rusher number 3 to rotate in between Azeez Ojulari and Joshua Uche, two free agency pickups who I think could be big bang for your buck type of players and classic Howie Roseman moves, where they're buy low players, but in this system with the complementary pieces and all of the talent around them, they can end up outplaying their contracts by generating pressure on the quarterback. So far, it's probably been Uche who's been ahead of Azeez Ojulari. Of course, this is a depth chart released by the Eagles media department. Obviously, they know what's going on throughout training camp, and it's unofficial. But when the season comes around, I do think it might be Uche who gets the edge on Ojulari. Then after that, it's Ogbu Okoronkwo, who the Eagles signed a couple of weeks ago, played for the Cleveland Browns in that wide 9 under Jim Schwartz, was a solid rotational player there. He had a really good year under D'Amico Ryans in a 4-3 back a couple of years ago in 2022. How does he fare in the 3-4 defense under Fangio? We'll see, and it might take game action to figure that out. Former Eagle Patrick Johnson is back. He's in the running to make this team, but is he going to make it over a player like Antoine Powell-Ryland, who was one of the most productive pass rushers in college football the last couple of years, who started at Florida, then went to Virginia Tech to be closer to his family. He was a sack and TFL quarterback pressure machine up to this point. Hasn't really done much, but he's a player who has a shorter wingspan and is just a good football player and very productive. So in these preseason games, that's when he might make some money and make a name for himself. You also have O'Shawn Mathis in the mix. At defensive tackle, 3 starters listed here. It really depends on what the Eagles want to do with their formational fronts. I kind of call it a hybrid scheme nowadays under Fangio because it's going to depend on the opposing scheme that the other offense is running and the personnel packages that they use. But the 3 starting defensive tackles, no surprises here, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Moro Ajomo, the latter of which Ajomo has had a stellar training camp. The backup defensive tackles, Thomas Booker, Ty Robinson, the rookie out of Nebraska, also known as Vanilla Gorilla, elite nickname, and then Byron Young, who landed on the injury report today. And then the third stringers, probably practice squad candidates at this point, Gabe Hall, UDFA from a couple of years ago out of Baylor, Joe Evans, and Jacob Sykes, who the Eagles signed back a few weeks ago. At the linebacker spot, Zach Bond, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., the starting off-ball linebackers, because you got to factor in the defensive linemen and the outside linebackers. There's only 2 off-ball linebackers here. So right now it's Zach Bond, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. with the first team. Second team linebackers, rookie first-round pick Jahad Campbell and his fellow rookie mid-round pick Smile Mondin out of Georgia. Mondin was getting some first-team reps on Monday, August 4th. Pretty notable there. And then after that, Dallas Gant and Lance Dixon. At cornerback, this is where stuff starts to get juicy in the secondary, and this is where the competitions have really ratcheted up the last couple of weeks. Quinyon Mitchell is corner 1. Then the Eagles are listing Adoree Jackson and Keely Ringo as the outside corner opposite of Quinyon. Vic Fangio said today that competition has been very tight and both players have had good camps. Jackson, the elder statesman, he's been in the league since 2017. Keely Ringo, more of a younger player who's still young. He gives you more athletic upside and probably more potential in the long run, but does Fangio side with the veteran presence? And then, of course, Cooper DeJean is that starting nickel, but Fangio said today he's been making good plays at safety. Elsewhere at the cornerback spot, I think Eli Ricks is a dark horse to get some snaps for this defense. Then you have Mac McWilliams, the rookie out of UCF, as the backup nickel, and then other outside corners, Tariq Castro Fields, Perry Nickerson, and A.J. Woods. At the safety spot, you have Reed Blankenship penciled in as a starter. He's one of the most underrated players in football. Then you have Sidney Brown and rookie second-round pick Drew Makuba as the other starting safety. That competition continues to be a good one. Then you have Tristan McCullum as the second stringer. Third and fourth stringers, Lewis Seen, former first-round pick, just looks to be a bust at this point. Andre Sam and Maxon Hook, who Nick Sirianni knows very well because of those Toledo ties. Then at punt returner, some surprises here, right? No Avery Williams listed as a punt returner or a kick returner. That's his specialty. And last year, he was very good in that area. Cooper DeJean, who was the number one punt returner last year, is the first-string punt returner going into 2025. He's very dynamic there, but do the Eagles try to save his body when the bullets are flying, given the severity and the intensity of those punt return coverages? Jahan Dotson behind him, then Anaya Smith. And then at kick returner, Will Shipley was really good there last year as the season progressed. Then you have A.J. Dillon as kick returner too. So some surprises here with this Eagles depth chart going into preseason game number 1. How do you think Howie Roseman's doing in building up and fortifying this Eagles roster? Let me know down in the comments section. A, B, C, D, or F. Share your thoughts with me. You think we're done? No, we're not. One more subject to hit, and I'm going to put this together for a YouTube short as well. We do long-form content and short-form content, so let's ride, or in the case of the Eagles, let's fly. This is why the Philadelphia Eagles should not trade for Micah Parsons. First, you think about the price tag. The trade package would have to include too much in my estimation. At least Nolan Smith, a first-round pick, and additional draft compensation. Nolan Smith, he's a young, emerging, affordable pass rusher who I'd love to keep, and he's been so important to this Eagles young culture. Another trade package might include something along the lines of Jalyx Hunt, Tanner McKee, the best backup quarterback in the NFL, and additional draft compensation. So you're losing starters, you're losing ascending youth, you're losing depth pieces and draft capital to bring in one player, a star player, but your roster is depleted in a sense on the defensive side of the ball if you make those trades. Plus, Dallas's asking price, I think, would be higher for the Eagles considering they're a division rival, and they would want to gut this Eagles roster if they were to ever trade Parsons to Philadelphia. And you think about the Eagles' 2 Lombardi trophies, right? Both of them have been won without a star pass rusher. Brandon Graham, the best pass rusher in 2017, and in 2024, Josh Sweat was their top pass rusher. They've won without that star-level edge rusher. The Eagles also, I don't think, need Parsons to win. So do you sell the farm to get a player who you don't necessarily absolutely need? Also, Parsons, when he gets this new contract, and it's inevitable, whether it's with Dallas or another team, is going to become the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of football. So that would impact the Eagles' team-building strategy as you canvas the roster elsewhere. So much about this Eagles team right now: depth, star-level talent, an influx of youth players who are continuing to grow and develop with this team. You trade for Parsons, and you lose a lot of that. Parsons is also, as a guy, a little bit noisy, a little bit talkative, grabs a lot of headlines. I don't think the Eagles organizationally or in the locker room really want to deal with some of that baggage. And the pieces are in place for this young Eagles defense right now. You don't need a Parsons-level player. Also, multiple players on that side of the ball are going to be up for contract extension. So I'd rather keep this core together, and it's a core that I believe can be very, very special instead of gutting the farm for Parsons. Would you trade for Micah? He's from Harrisburg, went to Penn State. He's often at Sixers games. He's been very complimentary of Howie Roseman, jealous of how the Eagles have built their team. We've seen it on camera. Type yes or no down in the comment section. What say you? I'm putting you to the test. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button here. Anytime I'm on camera, in front of the microphone, I want our content to be insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking. I want you to have a voice. If all that sounds good, go Birds. Hit that sub button.